having a nature reserve. Well, we say a biosphere reserve, but they don't know the difference between a biosphere reserve and an ordinary nature reserve. Because they're scared from Soviet times that it's a declared a reserve, everybody's kicked out, you can't hunt there, you can't do anything, so they are opposed to the idea. The local authorities in Gorny Altai are also opposed to the idea, because if the area is declared a nature reserve or a biosphere reserve, it gets then a federal status and is managed from Moscow, and the local bosses can't do anything there. So they are also against the idea. So what would be maybe most feasible would to have these local nature reserves, which would be managed by the local communities. That would be that, and NGOs have to work on that to convince people that they can protect the area, but they have to do it themselves. They don't have to rely on Moscow. They don't have to rely on the authorities. It should be protected by themselves, but the government should give them the proper legislation for that. At the moment, it's a difficult question.
But nowadays, it's just like an idea. It's not like that.
No, you can't say that it's not. It's an idea which is gradually being implemented. So, for instance, nearby the Mongolian border, there's a so-called Silugem nature reserve, which is, in the meantime, in the stage of being established. But it's being established for a few years, so the idea already is becoming a little bit chewy, and there's no final full stop to the implementation of it. But the further we continue in the way which we are doing now, the worse becomes the situation. But people have to understand that, and it's, I think, the first priority, I think, of NGOs to convince people that it's necessary to do something with the environment.
Do they have a category of landscape regional parks like in Ukraine? I mean, this category of reserves, it means that biologics is under regional...
No, I think in Russia they don't have something like we have our regional landscape parks, but they have something like sanctuaries, which are zakaznik, something like that. But but there's no authority which is responsible for the sanctuary, so it's just declared on paper, and the next step is a nature reserve or something like a biosphere reserve. But I've been in a few of them in the Altai, but they function actually as a reserve itself. So the idea of biosphere reserve, you know, when you have a core area, you have a buffer area, you have a transitional zone, that's what really the place needs for implementation.
It is always a problem in Ukraine too. More questions.
How dangerous is such expedition? You was involved in such trips for 9 years.
Yes.
Did you have any incidents with leopards? As I know, in many countries where such animals live, there are some cases of killing people every year.
Well, snow leopards, I think if I would be bitten by a snow leopard, I would be very happy. Seeing it so close, yes. No, actually there's no danger itself. Usually the team members are informed that the highway, which we follow for 2 days, that's perhaps the most dangerous portion of the trip, because it's a narrow road and there's a lot of traffic moving. But in the wild, well, people have fallen down on rocks, for instance, so there have been some injuries, but it can be cold. Yes. Can be exhausting. Yeah, because you have to climb up to, say, you start at 2,200 and you end up somewhere at 3,550. So it can be quite strenuous. But in general, it's quite safe.
Let's say, what was the minimum size of group for observation? Or was you allowed to go alone?
No.
For any
no,
area?
nobody goes alone. Nobody goes alone. So somebody from the biosphere staff should be with a group. So that can be the scientist, that can be the team leader, or it can be a mountain guide, which is responsible for safety. Then in the morning, everybody gets an instruction, has a map, the GPS, and knows where to go, where the person will be going. Yes, but anyway, the person in charge will be responsible also for the safety of the group. If it's a full group of team members, it's around 12. It can be split into 2 or 3 groups. You know, to make lesser noise, to be more discreet. So it can be around 3 persons which go out into the field.
Are there a lot of villages or people around in this area, or it is a rather abandoned area?
It's quite a remote area, and you can drive for 3 days and see nobody.
So you didn't have any conflicts with local people, like group of strangers going to...
No. Although the land is not privatized, like in Ukraine, but everybody knows where his plot is. So before setting up a camp, we have to negotiate with a local herders and say, well, please allow us to camp here. And we usually say we are ecologists. Ecologists has a good image. Yes. And usually they allow us there. Well, they can come for a visit. And we also, I didn't say in my report, that we also make a questionnaire of where we ask people different questions about snow leopard and attitude to snow leopards. So we deal quite a lot with the local people.
Was your group mainly from Russian people, Ukrainian, or there were a lot of foreigners?
You know, it's mainly foreigners. It's mainly foreigners because the investment that they have to do is around $2,000. Well, they could spend that money, I say, for at a beach somewhere or a resort, but they have the willingness to come and live in a tent and do the ordinary field work. But many are happy. Many are very, very happy and come for several times. Yeah, come several times. Yes. So, yes.
And did you have any problems with frontier guards? Because you had international frontier guards. You had international team near Russian border. What about spies? Maybe you were treated like possible spies.
Yes. Yes.
You have maps, GPS.
Yeah, we hide them usually. We usually hide them. Binoculars, yes. But we get permission from the border guard. But we can't get closer to the border than 5 kilometers. But we don't need that. It's not very necessary. It's not very necessary. But the border is so remote there that once we had driven into Mongolia, and came back because we saw that we're not in the proper place. So it's possible to approach areas like that, but anyway, you have to have all the permissions. Yes.
It's usually difficult to organize such trip.
Actually, it was my main question about organization. Who is main coordinator of such expeditions? Because it always needed to have somebody will coordinate everything, to get permission, to put tasks, scientific tasks.
Yes. Well, this is why I'm so fond of biosphere. Because I remember when I was a Soviet scientist, I had to do everything. I had to buy the food, I had to cook, I had to do all that stuff. Now, all my tasks, all my obligations are science and reports, and that's all. I know at what day I have to be at what point. So Biosphere does all this. It has its offices in the UK, in France, in America, and in Australia. So through the internet, people apply for membership, pay the money, and Biosphere staff does all the paperwork and things like that. In each country, they usually hire an organization. Say in Russia, that's Siberian Alpinism. So that's a tour company which runs ordinary tours in Altai. So they are responsible for the permits. They're responsible for the equipment, tents, kitchens, food, campfires, and so on. So it's some kind of a symbiosis between Biosphere and a local organization. So some of the money which is collected from the team members is transferred to Sibel, which does that work, and they are paid from the same source as I am paid and everybody which is involved in Biosphere expedition.
Do you have some chiefs in your expeditions? The main person? What?
Yes, there's one person which is from Biosphere, which and each expedition around the world has a team expedition leader, because he deals with, say, Land Rover. He's authorized to negotiate, say, with Land Rover, with other sponsors. He has the money. He does all the transfers and so on. So he's the person which is responsible for running the expedition. And he negotiates on the place with the Russian counterpart.
Who puts scientific tasks for your expeditions?
Well, I do.
You?
Yes. But it's a follow-up, because they started with Gorno-Altaysk University. Yes, but the people from the university couldn't adapt to this kind of new way of organizing nature conservation research. And before that, in 2000, the founder of Biosphere was in Ukraine, and he was also looking for running an expedition here. And there was one such which was run for 2001, 2002 and 2003 in the Kinbunska Kosa Regional Landscape Park, where wolves and bird watching were the attractive features of the expedition. So anybody here can, for instance, find or propose an idea. Say, for instance, let's study brown bears in the Carpathians. So you can make a proposal and find perhaps maybe a local company which will be responsible for the logistics. then you can submit your proposal to BIOSPHERE, and it will then post it on their site and see how many people would be coming in, enough to make it interesting and fund it. Yes. So all around the world, proposals are made, and BIOSPHERE is mainly involved in recruiting these nature lovers, bird watchers, and just ordinary people which want to be somewhere in the wilderness.
Do you personally pay money for your participation, or they pay money?
I'm on my vacation, so I'm not at my working time there. Mm-hmm. So they pay me not a large amount of money for each slot, and for producing the scientific reports.
Mm-hmm. And they pay